candle we got going on.
I know. I thought. We usually record in such squalor that it'd be nice to have a little.
Usually we've got a pile
ambiance.
of trash. I'm gonna get a blankie too.
Okay. Yeah, we're all cozied up. We're under some blankets.
Not like together.
I mean, let the audience imagine what they want.
You're just desperate for any kind of fan support. You're like, I don't care what kind of fictions they're crafting.
I mean, let them imagine what they want. If they want to draw some fan art of that, that's cool. Whatever.
That's not cool. Do not.
Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie.
All right.
All right.
Welcome
Let's
to
get serious.
welcome to Movie versus Movie, the
It's still our
podcast,
name.
the podcast where we watch movies and then talk about them.
The only podcast of its kind to ever exist with me as a co-host.
Yeah, it's real, truly singular in nature.
Singular, 2 movies. It's like it's interesting that we say singular because it's like 2 movies. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
So
anyway,
yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, so this episode, we are watching 2 movies.
we watched
2
movies.
Yeah, I guess we watched them already, didn't we?
Yeah, why would you say we are watching?
Oh God, I already fucked up. Oh my God. Oh fuck, shit. Oh God, can we start over? Anyway, so
Ripley's here.
hey, Ripley, the cat is here.
Should I see if I can get any audio?
Yeah, hit it. Ripley, come on, come over here. Hey guys, I'm Ripley. What are you doing with these big fuzzy things?
If you heard anything, that was Ripley. Except for Nick's demon voices. Why
Wait,
would you
time
talk
out.
at exactly the time I'm
didn't-
trying to get any
I didn't
sound?
speak though.
I will strangle you to death. If you want to do fan art of me strangling Nick to death.
Oh my God, I'll frame that. Anyway, so here we go. We watched 2 movies under the theme of that we decided was.
I was literally just like, hey, this is how did this even transpire? I feel like we watched Malignant.
Yeah.
And then
the
I was
greatest movie
like,
of all time.
oh, we were trying to figure out what movie to watch for Halloween. 'Cause
Yeah,
we wanted to watch
'cause
some
we-
scary movies.
Yeah, because we had watched
just for fun as like friendship.
Yeah, we watched Clue. We watched Knives
Nick
Out.
and I do fun things together. We don't just do this shit.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh, maybe we can do something with those, so we don't have to watch.
Well, I
extra
was trying to
movies.
think of a scary movie that wasn't too scary and that had a fun edge. And so I
Yeah.
was like, oh, there's this movie, Ready or Not.
Right.
Let's watch this. And then you were like, what if we did it for the podcast? And I was like, oh, I got a movie I'd like to pair with that.
Yeah, because
And so it just kind of evolved naturally.
yeah, originally we were gonna do like Clue.
I've got a
and
little scratchy voice.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
oh.
Because I got my flu shot yesterday. I think
Get
it's
your
making me a little-
boosters.
Everyone get boosted.
Yeah, so we
you
were.
want to get boosted, bitch? That's Trixie and Katya.
No, I think that's Fauci's new like promotional campaign that he's
do
doing.
they say boosted or what do they say? Whatever, don't worry about it. Everyone watch.
Yeah, it's a very good program. Anyway,
It's better than this.
I mean, we're not. If we're at the point where we're competing with
my God.
Katya and Trixie,
There's no.
I will
yeah.
fucking die.
Yeah. Let's not.
Yeah. So we had watched Clue, and then Ready or Not is also sort of a childhood game based movie. And
That
we're
was
like,
our original pairing.
Yeah, that was gonna be original
And then
pairing.
I was like, no.
I got something better.
Yeah. Wait. Just you fucking wait, Nick.
Yeah.
Is what I said.
And then you looked at me and you pointed aggressively and said, "You're next." And I was like, "Oh God, what have I
Right.
done now? I'm so scared." And then you were like, "No, it's a movie."
Right.
And so we decided to pair them under the theme of class warfare.
Yeah. Yeah. Class warfare slasher romp. I would say.
The very specific category
Yeah.
of movie.
Well, and I had already gone on like a Twitter rant earlier. It wasn't a rant. Well, every tweet is kind of a rant from me. But yeah, I talked on Twitter a little bit about comparing these movies already and wanting to do that
Yeah.
in some form. And so here it is. I'm going to be able to do that more.
Yeah.
Get hype.
So let's just dive on in. Which
Yeah.
movie do you want to start with?
Well, I think we should. I'm going to do something a little weird. I'm going to start with Ready or Not, even though it's the
Okay.
more recent one.
All right. Okay, yeah. Released recently, like 2019.
19. I did actually look it up because in
We
our mini
should
episode, I'm
know.
like, I don't know what it came out. I don't know anything.
Yeah, it holds.
It's a movie. It was filmed on camera.
It holds an
It stars
88%
people.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
88.
Yeah, pretty high.
Rotten Tomatoes is a joke.
Yeah.
Can we talk about?
Let's dive into
Let's
the
make
politics
some
of Rotten
enemies.
Tomatoes.
I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is good to an extent, but if like sometimes I look at that shit and I'm like the weirdest stuff is like 99%. I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, if you look at the top 100, there's some
It's just like,
weird
oh,
ones
things
up
that were
there.
really big at the box office, and
Yeah.
then some stuff that's like actually amazing and like masterful and beautiful. Venom 2. I still haven't seen Venom 2. I need to. Is it out streaming yet? Do we know?
I don't think it's out streaming yet, but as soon
God.
as it is, we're
I'm not
grabbing
allowed to go to
that,
the movies yet.
and we're gonna pair it with
'Cause
"Call
I've
Me by
got-
Your Name."
I've got that Bubble Boy disease, and so I can't expose myself to anything.
Yeah, it's really
What
sad.
disease did Bubble Boy have?
He had your disease.
Mary Ellen disease?
Yeah, Marianne disease.
It was just a recursive sort of illness.
Yeah, it's sort of like what came
Whoever
first,
has
Bubble
it
Boy or
or
Mary
Mary Ellen.
Ellen.
Whoever is the most well-known person with that disease, that's
That's
the
the
disease.
name. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, me too.
That's how clout works.
It's sort of like legacy, you know. It's yeah.
yeah.
All right, so these fucking movies. Ready or Not, the basic premise is that a woman is getting married to her fiance. We start kind of in on the day of the wedding, and you kind of find out from context clues that the fiance has kind of a troubled relationship with his family.
His very, very wealthy family.
Yes, you also find out that they are hella rich, and
Yeah.
that she is actually from a not high background. She is
A not high
you know,
background.
not lofty. You know, she's one
She
of
grew
us.
up in
She's one
foster
of the
homes.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She grew up in foster homes, didn't have a ton of money growing up, and doesn't feel like, eventually she kind of makes it known to a character that she doesn't feel like she's been like an integral part of a family, and that's something that she's wished for.
Yeah, and she has some insecurities around that, and she desperately wants to like fit in and be accepted by the family.
Yeah. Well, like it's, there's kind of she's not just like, oh, I hope they like me. Like part of her's kind of like, oof, like
yeah,
the rich people kind of freak me out and stuff like that. So it's, it starts kind of cute, like their whole dynamic where he's like, oh, like they're terrible, and he's kind of trying to reassure her, and she's like being playfully like, I want to get them on my side and stuff, and we think it's like, okay, this is like a sweet, healthy relationship.
Yeah, and also there's some interesting
doing the
things
best they
that they
can.
do at the beginning too, where when she talks about them, it's like all about her relationship and with him and being grounded in it and wanting it to be successful and being like accepted into the family even despite her like trepidations, whereas the other side of the family that we're introduced to, whenever we see them kind of talking to themselves about her, it's all about her like social class and identity is kind of what they're talking about instead
Oh,
of,
yeah.
like,
And yeah, it's I think we're meant to be kind of like, are these people pieces of shit, in the beginning? Because like, so Annie McDowell plays the mom. Shouts out, I love her.
she did great in this role.
I have a fondness for her. Maybe it's because my sisters and I watched fucking Groundhog Day like 800 times when we were
Yeah.
children, and I'm just like, that's the nice lady. Why did we watch that so many times? Do you have movies like as a child that you were just constantly on?
Well, were you just like trapped in a singular
It is
day
ironic
over and
that
over again?
that Groundhog Day is one of them. Other ones were like Truman Show for some reason, constantly on.
For me, it was like I didn't have cable growing up, and so I got cable when I was a teenager, and I was like all into about like Comedy Central. So the movies that I remembered like that are like Not Another Teen Movie and like stuff like that was just on repeat constantly.
That makes sense. Yeah.
None of the good ones though.
Anna, my sisters Anna and Aaron, they both did ballet, and so Center Stage. Have you
Never
ever seen it?
No.
It's I don't know if it's good. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
But every time people will meme it, like every now and then online, I'm like, I'm glad I have this knowledge that I can engage with this content.
So I can marshal it to my.
I don't use it, Nick.
Okay. You just know it. You just.
That's
have
not
it.
part of my brand. I'm not Mary on the Center Stage stan, always making those snappy references.
You just like, I mean, your brand is much more bunheads.
Much more Bunheads. Never saw an episode of Bunheads.
Yeah, me neither.
Great.
Jason
Thrilling.
Mantzoukas loves it though. That's very.
Why?
I don't know. He's just like obsessed with
Well,
that
it's
show.
Amy Sherman Palladino.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
She writes witty stuff. Were you ever a Gilmore Girls?
So
Were you a Gilmore guy?
were I a Gilmore guy?
Yeah.
No, I
No,
actually.
I don't see that as being part of your teen brand.
The thing is that I like Gilmore Girls.
Right,
when
but
I
you
see
have to keep
episodes
it on the
my
DL.
mom went through like a depressive phase where she watched like
My mom
all
too.
of
My mom too.
Yeah, and I was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I've watched 3 seasons."
She's
of
like,
Gilmore
I'm
Girls."
Lorelai, and I'm like, okay, mom, you process what you need to.
Oh no.
You are not, but okay.
And I was like, and I would watch some with her, and I was like, wow, this is really well written and fun, and
Early on.
Yeah, I love. That's all.
It
I've
falls
seen.
apart. Yeah.
Okay. But I haven't ever sat down and really committed myself to the series.
Is it because of like your own relationship with your masculinity, and you're kind of like?
I have a quick question. What masculinity? No, I have no.
You're
qualms
always
about
riding around your motorcycle with your leather jacket, punching
Yeah,
people.
I mean, honestly, that's just sort of like a brand thing.
Right. That's you trying to get work.
Yeah, that's me being like, yeah, I'm James Dean.
I could do Butch. See. Anyway, what were you talking about? Oh, movies.
The movie, yeah. Let's get back to that. So yeah, she did great in this role, and she plays the mother in like a really fun
Annie
way.
McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at first we're like, are these people assholes? Because we see some people being like, oh, she looks like trash. Blah.
Yeah, we see some of the children of the rich family being like,
Yeah.
I will never accept her, kind of thing.
Right. But then Annie McDowell like makes a very sweet attempt at like making a connection with what's even the character's name? Samara Weaving's character.
Yeah, and yeah, they have a moment where she's just like, I am like genuinely happy he chose you.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you've brought him back into the fold.
Yeah,
Dun
because
dun
and
dun.
we're given sort of hints that something has happened to like drive
There was a
him
division.
away. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, we also at the very beginning we kind of missed it, but there's like this very short kind of not tableau, but like scene where we see
cold open.
yeah, we see some folks in masks hunt a man in front of a screaming bride.
Yeah.
And like this child sort of watching.
There's
and
2 little boys,
Yeah.
and one little boy's like hides the other one so he doesn't have to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And they're hunting a man.
Yeah. So
You ever hunt a man?
God.
I don't even know where I was going with that. It just sounded like a fun thing to say. Anyway, her name is Grace, the main character's
Grace,
name.
yes. And so they have the ceremony. It's very lovely. And then after the ceremony, the now husband says like,
It's very lovely, but there's also like a little montage of like them taking wedding photos, and some like Adam Brody plays the kind of like drunk
yeah,
but
The fun-
friendly,
the fun brother.
charismatic, but kind of a mess brother.
yeah.
And he's like, riffing with Grace a little bit, but then like there's a creepy aunt who's just keeps glaring at her.
I mean,
and
then
then
that's the thing about this movie is that character specifically,
Yeah.
it is from the jump. You're like, this is out of control. This character, they
yeah.
basically were just like, no subtlety, please.
Yeah.
Can you just,
Just go
glare?
100, yeah.
just be a pure incarnation of evil the
Yeah.
entire time.
Yeah, which is funny. Like I remember you being like, "Oh, will it turn out she's nice?" Like,
Yeah, I was like-
because you thought it would be like a flip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought there was gonna be some nuance to
No.
that character.
no, yeah,
Which actually is something that we can talk about this movie in general later on. But I felt like
Sure.
it was sort of pretty the whole way through. There wasn't a whole lot of.
Well, it's meant, I don't know if you're familiar with comedy, but in some regards, like you do kind of have to flatten out or exaggerate certain characteristics
Sure.
for the bit. But I feel you. I mean, I think there wasn't a lot of ambiguity
No.
with some of these
Not-
folks,
not at all.
from the jump. So anyway, they get married, and she's like, "Oh, like what a relief." There's that scene in the beginning where they're talking it out, and he's like, "My family's kind of fucked up. You sure you want to go through with
Yeah.
this?" She's like, "Oh, I can handle it."
Yeah.
And so we're like, "Okay, great. They got through these 2 cute kids."
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you've seen the trailer, I guess. And then they're about to fuck,
Yep.
and then the creepy aunt comes in.
And she's just like standing there again. Great.
Great, creepy.
She's just
You did it.
She basically is just like a living gargoyle who like
But
walks around this
tiny,
house. Yeah.
like a petite gargoyle. And so Grace finds out that they all have to gather to play a game because
Yeah.
the family's wealth comes from them being a board game.
A board game like Monopoly or whatever.
Yeah.
And
a
they
board game. What would you say? Like Dynasty?
Empire,
yeah.
and it's pretty funny because like the like start of the tension in the movie is that you see that the husband's sort of like, okay, so
Yeah, you
there's
have
something
to
that I have to
play
tell
a
you.
game.
You have to play a card game or
Yeah.
whatever. And she's like, what? Okay.
Right.
Whatever.
She
Dude.
reacts like a normal person would. Is like, fine, I get. Like, do we have to do it now?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then they like go down and the father like takes the son aside. Is like, if we have to play that game, will you do what you have to
Yeah,
do?
it's
And he's
like-
like, I'm not gonna talk about this.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of like silly, but
Then all the adult children show up
yes,
in
all-
time.
and you find out that like they kind of have to because
It's
they
part of
bel-
tradition.
it's tradition, but also like
You're not a real. He says like this is to them more important than
the wedding.
the wedding itself. You're not a real member of the family till you do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, okay, I guess.
And so they sit down to play.
If somebody made you do this to get married, would you do it? Not the part that comes later, but like you just have to play like a stupid board game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I like
fucking love
games.
board
Yeah,
games.
I would
I
sit down and be like,
forgot.
"Whoa, are we playing Dominion? Are we playing King's Dilemma? What are we fucking playing? Hey,
What's
hey
the
guys,
game? What's the game you made me play and like try to convince me to play and it would be fun, and then made fun of me for not being immediately good at it?
I would never do that, Mary Ellen.
It was code words.
Code names. Okay, to be fair, code names is like a very simplistic game.
I didn't get some rule. And Nick's like, "Oh, nice job, Mary Ellen."
Well,
trying to get me presumably to do this ever again with him because I hate board games generally.
so here's the other
Because
thing.
it brings
though.
out really ugly personality traits in people.
I think light jabbing at you when playing
It
was
was
just
not
sort
light.
of like.
You were like, "Oh, we owned you."
No, I don't think that happened.
I definitely haven't. Liz was there. We should have had asked her
Yeah,
when she was here. We just interviewed Liz.
yeah. I mean, don't peel back the curtain.
This will come. This will come.
Those are recording secrets.
All the podcasts I listen to are like we just record these episodes back to back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we
By
recorded
all the
back to back.
podcasts, I mean mostly you talking you two to me. That's the extent of
the
my.
one data point on your
Yeah.
podcasting.
Oh, you know, like normal podcasts where people talk about Bono and spend
and
4
have several
hours.
podcasts inside the podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way you have listened to several podcasts. But
Yeah,
they're
in
all
a way,
parts
I've
of
listened
the-
to so many podcasts. I listen to others also from Scott Ackerman and
Paul F. Tompkins.
Paul F.
specifically. Yeah.
Tompkins.
Okay, back to the movie.
Anyway, so then they all gather around and Grace is like, "Okay, cool, let's do this." But it
Now,
seems oddly formal.
Here's the thing, though, is that
Yeah.
if you asked me would I feel
Yeah.
weird about doing that? No, because I like board games or whatever.
Yeah,
But if they
I
made me
don't.
sit around that huge
Yeah.
table with
I would
like,
start to like be like,
it.
something's gonna happen.
It's like I would look around and be like, why are we in like a cult room?
yeah.
Why this isn't
Right.
a board game room.
This
There's
isn't
no-
this game. I'd be like, even if it was like we're playing Monopoly, I'd be like, okay, so does who lose? Like people who lose die? Like the vibes are off.
Yeah, the thing is that like at any time during that scene, it would have felt totally normal for any of the family characters to just take out a knife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
You
that's
didn't
like,
ask me, but if I had to marry somebody and they were like, if I had
Well,
to marry somebody,
I already know the answer. You hate
yeah,
board
I'd be
games.
like, oh, this is off. Actually,
Yeah.
I have to go.
Yeah, and it's kind of awkward because you've already married, but maybe that was the point. You know, you just wanted to marry and get out. You know.
I've always kind of not always. I think it would be kind of interesting to immediately annul your marriage just for the drama. And people be like, why? And you'd be like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, you want to add some mystery.
Yeah, and then like maybe like remarry like a couple weeks later.
To the same person.
Yeah. Or whoever officiates. What I've wanted to do is get an Elvis impersonator to officiate my wedding.
Yeah.
By the end of the reception, annul my marriage and then run away with the Elvis impersonator.
You've always wanted to do this. This is
Oh,
something
by
that's
always, I mean for a couple years, I'd be like, that would be how I'd do it.
do what?
A wedding. Weddings, people are so annoying about weddings. They focus on like, oh, the flower arrangements. No one cares about that. What they're going to care about is like Mary Ellen annulled her marriage and then ran away with the Elvis impersonator.
Here's the thing, Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
You're one of my greatest friends. But now I can't come to your wedding because I think I would die if that was
Oh my
happening at a
god!
wedding.
Oh my god! Nick can't even handle like somebody like watching a show where somebody is like in conflict with somebody.
No, honestly, if we're watching
He starts
a
to like
show
vomit
and
all over
somebody
himself.
in a police officer walks on screen, I start going, "Oh God, oh no, oh no."
If anyone's like in trouble, if they're feeling embarrassed, if they're doing like a performance that
God,
isn't going
oh my
well,
God, bad
he
acting. I can't
really
I
struggles.
can't do.
Yeah, no,
Not
really,
like the actors are bad.
right. What
but-
if so? Okay, what if it was that my husband, who I
Yeah.
know he also ran off with somebody, so nobody's like hurt.
But then I would still be experiencing the chaos of your family trying to process all of this, and like
I feel like my family would be like, well, we knew it wouldn't be normal. You know,
Yeah.
like I feel like they'd bounce back.
Honestly, I'd just be hanging out with Trisha, being like, "This is fucking nuts," and she'd be like, "Yeah,
yeah. That's what my 85-year-old grandmother sounds like. Yeah. I love Trisha. Shouts out to Trisha.
Shouts
She'll
out.
never listen to this, and I don't want her to.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Movies.
Yeah, let's get back on track. So we're sitting around a big cult table, and the dad brings out a box and tells this kind of long-winded story about how one of their one of their ancestors played Mr. LaBelle, a sailor, in like a game, and they bet essentially endless fortune and good luck. Fortune. And then they kind of honor Mr. LaBelle in a kind of cultist way. Every time someone gets married by playing a game in his honor. And so then they kind of like open the box or whatever, and Grace pulls out what game that they're going to be playing, and it's hide and go seek.
Hide and
Now,
seek.
I think we should stop here and say spoilers rife for the rest of the...
Boom.
So it turns out this family, whenever they pull hide and seek, they have to hunt down and kill the bride and then sacrifice her or
To
him
Satan.
to Satan.
Also, I just looked this up. So apparently, LaBelle is a reference to Belial,
Oh, Belial.
which is the Hebrew term for the devil.
Yeah, it's like not subtle. Like the whole thing with the...
I was
how
trying
they
to think of
depict-
how I thought it was like an anagram or something. I'm not familiar with that name for Satan.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with others.
like Lord of Flies, Beelzebub.
My boyfriend.
Orville
He's the
Peck.
one He's the what?
Your boyfriend, Orville
It's
Peck.
Orville Peck, right? I could have multiple boyfriends.
Oh, okay.
Which one am I gonna leave for the Elvis impersonator? Who knows?
If you left Orville Peck for the Elvis
First of all,
impersonator,
yeah.
I'd be shocked. Honestly,
don't
I'd be
think-
like, I've lost a lot of money because I bet everyone here that this would go off without a hitch.
Here's the thing. I don't think anyone is waiting for me and Orville Peck to enter into a long-term romantic relationship for several reasons. I don't think anyone's expecting that.
Maybe not expecting, but they're waiting for it, Mariana.
It's so since they're waiting.
All right, so they start the hunting. They basically say like, "Hey, we're gonna count to 100."
They don't tell her.
Yeah,
They don't
it's
tell
kind-
her.
It's kind of a thing where I was like, "This is fucked up. You're not playing fair."
No, they don't. Well,
The whole okay.
kind
I
of
mean,
the
that's yeah. The
point.
whole time. Okay.
they're like,
yeah.
okay, Grace, time to go hide and seek. But we know something's fucked up because hubby looks like he just shit his pants.
Yeah.
He's all a flutter.
Yeah, and then they all start passing out weapons to each other.
Well,
and-
when she leaves the room.
Yeah, when she leaves the room. And I
Mhm.
have to say, like, the comedy in this movie is like pretty good sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when they give one of the men a crossbow and he's like, how do you expect me to use this?
Because the whole thing is they're supposed to play by the rules
Yeah.
of what existed when the deal went down with Mr. LaBelle.
Yeah, and one of them's like, just let me go get my gun. I have a gun in
Yeah.
my purse right now. And then one of them's like, you have a gun in your purse? Why do you have it? So yeah, it's like funny, and
Yeah.
they start hunting her, and it kind of ensues throughout the night where she starts. At first, she kind of figures out because her fiance comes and tells her.
Well, no.
Mhm.
She watches them kill a maid by accident,
Oh,
thinking it's her.
yeah.
And so then the fiance has to tell her what the fuck's going down. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why would you have me do this knowing this is a possibility?
And then he was like, yeah, well, I told you could leave.
Well, because the whole thing was like, basically, it was one of you ladies.
Ladies.
You know when you're with your your dude for a does it sound like I've been in a lot of relationships? You know when you're with your beau for a long time and he's dragging his feet on popping the question.
Yeah.
That's what people talk about, right?
Yeah.
So that you're like, okay, it's time to, piss or get off the pot, but with a marriage.
Piss or get off the marriage pot.
Get off the marriage pot.
Yeah,
And so that's apparently the conversation that happened. And he was like, well, you were going to leave if I didn't propose to you, which
Yeah.
isn't fair.
yeah.
Not fair, because it's not like, and also that means you should die.
Yeah, and so it's really all her fault.
It is her fault. It's about like women always be pressuring men.
Yeah, exactly.
So they kind of have like a little confrontation, but like conversation
Yeah.
And like he's like, we're gonna get you through this.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna unlock everything.
he was like, I was never gonna let anything happen to you. I'm gonna unlock them. We'll
Yeah,
get
like,
away.
okay,
yeah,
buddy.
whatever, bud.
Yeah.
And so then it kind of continues where she is running around the property trying to escape. He is trying to deactivate the alarm systems because they've basically locked her into the house with them.
Yes.
And it has some good scares, some like tense moments.
Yeah.
And it has some ridiculous stuff too. I will say this is now, I guess the third movie that we've watched in a row of that's been pretty gore centric.
Okay.
You see someone's head get shot, completely blown open, and you see like the exit path of the bullet, and the blood is just everywhere.
Where?
When she like walks in, she's like, are you here? And then someone turns the corner and sees her. And shoots
Oh, yeah. The parts with the maids. Yeah, there's definitely some.
One of
yeah.
the maids gets crushed to death in the elevator. She deserved it.
Yeah,
She
it was a class traitor moment.
Yeah. When the class war comes, do not be a class traitor.
Yeah, she's a little.
It was
snitch.
or you'll get crushed by an elevator, I guess was the message.
It was actually a dumb-waiter.
Oh yeah. But she was
Why do they call it a dumb waiter? Like, hey, probably because it's the old school version of dumb, which just means like quiet.
Yeah.
And so it's like instead of that chatty little asshole bringing me my food, it's this dumb waiter. Is that what it is? I'm gonna look it up. I think I just figured out a thing.
Would you like me to pause
To riff?
while we
No, riff.
riff? Okay. Oh boy. There's
You
a
were
lot of
saying-
pressure.
You were saying it was gory.
Oh yeah, it's totally gory. I mean, there's like a lot of, and they're all weapons that are pretty fucking gory to deal with,
Right,
Like
like the
knives
bow
and
and
a
stuff.
spear gun,
Yeah.
and crossbows. A box is used to kill somebody at one point. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also some nail stuff that I almost like. You can see a video of my reaction to it online. It's pretty pretty ridiculous.
Check it out.
But yeah, so I would say if you're kind of not able to do gore, maybe skip this one.
I really don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I watched it and I got through it, but there was moments of retching.
You are so sensitive with stuff, but you've done that at like a brief surgery scene. You
brief.
just-
Malignant, there's a pretty solid like.
No, I'm talking
5-minute
about
surgery
what
scene.
do we see that you like
Old
retched? No, Sound of Metal.
Sound
They
of
were doing
Metal,
a surgery
yeah.
for like 2, and you're like, "Bleh." I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. They don't say
That's
why.
a great movie, by the way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, people
so
should watch
good.
Sound of Metal.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the movie really kicks off, and it's just kind of a cat and mouse thing. And what I think that what the director and writer, I guess, did really well is that she's basically continuously confronted with people who are offered the moment to help her, and they're of people of her class, essentially, of like people who should be on her side, but their affiliation,
Like their servant.
yeah, their
Mhm.
affiliation with the rich family has overridden all morality.
Yeah. What's that like?
Yeah, I just.
It's a good thing that doesn't happen in real life. Just
Yeah.
look at fucking all the replies to Elon Musk's tweets.
Yeah, I'm really glad that this never happens. In the
Yeah,
real
that like
world.
dumb working class people are like,
Oh
I
my
want the
God,
billionaire to be
Daddy
my
Elon,
friend.
take me to the moon. Step on my neck, Daddy Elon.
Do they even get horny with it?
I mean, I'm sure someone is.
There's like a level of horniness, but it's always like invest in crypto. It's not like
yeah.
sexual.
Well, I think that's actually a really good kind of
Is it?
metaphor because like with the crypto thing, because the reason why people get really all in on Elon is because they think that some of his like
Yeah.
efforts
Crypto shine.
will
Yeah.
drip down to them and they'll be able to make
Oh,
a
yeah.
semblance of a fortune or whatever, and that just is it's so
Well, it's a fucking
frustrating.
scam of capitalism.
Yeah, and it's so
It's like,
frus-
oh, the
Ugh.
system worked for him, and it's gonna work for me
Yeah,
if
and
I
like
just
it-
believe in myself. Like, okay, Timmy.
And so like in this movie, it's just that over and over again. You're confronted with these people who are willing to basically do anything and everything just to keep either what they have or have the hope.
I feel
of
like that
more.
wasn't as overt as the family, the wealthy family closing ranks to
Yeah.
preserve their power, sort of thing.
Yeah,
I feel like that was the explicit message.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I think that the most terrifying villain in this is the butler. Because he is
yeah, what the the fuck is his deal?
Yeah, he's just a
He's
sycophant.
that part. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and I think he's also like supposed to be a sadist because he seems to like enjoy doing violence.
Yeah.
Because it's not like so. The whole point is supposedly they all die if they
Mhm.
don't kill this girl by the end of the evening.
But they don't know for sure. It's sort of like superstition.
and some of
right?
them really believe in it. Some of them are like, okay, this is kind of bullshit though, right?
Yeah.
But it's just that is enough for them to like keep participating. In the
Yeah,
thing.
just the possibility of
Yeah.
some discomfort or threat to them
right.
is like enough for them. And then some of them are just like, I had to do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Adam Brody seems really conflicted the whole time. He's like, I wish I was still in the OC. I wish I was still on Gilmore Girls.
I think that I missed what they were trying to do with part of it, where they kept implying that because he tried to get out of the family, but then that he is the true heir to.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the husband?
Yeah, and they keep having these moments of like he's the one who could see
Yeah.
Mr. LaBelle in his chair. and
Yeah.
things like that. And I guess that never really came to fruition for me. Like I never really saw like what they were trying to imply there.
Right. I think
Um,
that was just foreshadowing. So eventually what happens at the end is hubby, so they like put him in handcuffs to a bed, which I didn't hate for a while. And then but he breaks out. But when he breaks out, shit's gone down. She's been fighting people. She's
Yeah.
been killing some people.
She
She kills
Oh
Mama.
my god, that was so good. That's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, but before we get to that, I want to say another really like moment that really worked for me was when they were in the stable. So she escapes the house. She's running around the yard. She's like really fucked up at this point.
Yeah.
She's tired. She's been shot at a bunch of times and like attacked. And she goes into the stable to hide, like this goat shed, which is like, yeah, everyone has a goat shed, I guess. But one of the children, like 12 years old or whatever,
Yeah.
of one of the rich family, like comes out and she's like, oh, just be quiet.
Like, I know you must be really scared. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. And then
Yeah.
he just fucking shoots her. And there's a great moment after, but she like basically just punches him out, which is great.
Because the bullet goes through her hand.
Yeah, and there's a really gory, horrifying like
That's the part that Nick screamed at.
where she like is reaching out of a pit of dead bodies and like basically puts
Has
a rusty
to,
nail
yeah.
through her hole in
she
her
doesn't
hand.
fall back down. Yeah.
Ugh.
Do you need to take a break?
No, I'm good. But anyway, so after there's like a point where one of the people run in who have been having like second thoughts about it and being like, I wish we didn't have to do this. Like, oh, do we even have to continue? And then she finds her son and is like, what are you doing out here? And then the kid is like, yeah, I shot her. And then she's like, why would you do that? And he's like, well, everyone else said that like basically it was they wanted to. Why wouldn't I do what everyone else is doing? And then she just sort of like flips and goes, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
And it's like this really gross moment.
Yeah.
And like, oh God, it really worked for me where I was
Yeah.
just like,
I think literally like moments before you said something like, well, the kids die too or something like that. And you're like, maybe they do deserve to die.
yeah.
Like, right after.
it was much like, oh yeah, all of these people are pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And
Which
it's
like, I mean, yeah. It's, yeah. Anyway.
And it's also great because like the kind of drunk fun brother kind of goes through an arc, maybe one of the only characters to go through a real arc in this movie.
Grace does.
Grace does.
Yeah.
From normal sane person to totally battle
To
scarred
feral woman. Yeah.
Valkyrie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she the man,
Husband also does.
I mean, kinda. He's kind of like he was a piece of shit, but was hiding it, and then was just a
Yeah,
piece
he was
of
like a
shit at
low
the
key
end.
piece of shit, and then he's like, oh, he's a
Yeah,
piece
he's
of
like,
shit.
oh, he's a real piece.
Yeah,
of
you're
shit.
right. I think, yeah, it's like when it came down to it, he had to make a real decision, and when he finally did, he revealed his true colors. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like he changed.
Yeah, he just was always that way.
He was
and-
bathed.
But his brother, who is the kind of drunk,
Adam Brody.
yeah, so he was great, I thought, and he kind of you think has given back into the family, and it's just like because throughout the movie he's has several chances to kind of catch Grace and decides to like not help her but kind of let her get away enough that he doesn't have to be the one who actually kills her.
Mm-hmm.
But then actually gets to the point where he saves her by giving his family a bunch of medicine that makes them shit themselves, which, you know, great.
Yeah.
And is able to kind of help her get away. But then his like,
shitty wife.
yeah, his wife.
who is like a classic like class traitor.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you know where I came from? I'd do anything to not go back there.
Yeah, she's like, I don't ever want to be poor again. And she hates him. Like, they have
Yeah.
a miserable
It's kind of
marriage.
hot.
Yeah, they totally hate.
They
fuck. Yeah.
want to kill each other a little bit, even
But in the
before the movie
bedroom.
starts. Yeah, and I'm like, what's going on? Okay.
Yeah, they have a bad relationship.
Guys, if you're, I am just joshing. If your relationship looks like this and you
Yeah,
want to kill
don't
each
do that.
other,
Yeah, get out.
just leave.
Just end it. Yeah. And if you don't feel like you can end it, there are resources for you to take advantage of.
I didn't want to get that serious, but yeah.
But there's a moment where she is class traitoring
Just, class trading as you do.
and she ends up killing her
husband. Yeah.
but he actually does the thing that you think that the fiance is going to do, which is like actually make a change and like put his own well-being on the line, which none of the characters are willing to do.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And he has that moment when they're like dumping the dead bodies of the maids in the
Yeah.
little pit, and he's like, we deserve to die.
Yeah.
He's like, we deserve to go to hell.
Yeah.
Basically.
which I thought was
It's interesting.
it's a nice moment, and it's like interesting to
It's a
think
nice
about.
moment.
Yeah.
Everyone went, aw.
Yeah. Aw, Brody.
Brody.
But like also everyone else's like threat is that it's basically their financial situation that might be impeded.
But they also think they're going to die.
Well, do they?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a real thinker.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. She kills Mama.
Oh yeah. So then
Grace
she-
only actually kills one person in the movie
which
fighting
is
for
another
her
great
life,
one.
which is Annie McDowell,
Yeah.
the mom.
Reveals herself to be like,
And it's in a
Ugh.
moment where Annie McDowell is strangling her to death and
Yeah.
is like, you don't deserve to be part of it. You're trash.
yeah, and she's like, this is my family, and
Yeah.
I'll protect my family.
Yeah. And Grace grabs the little doohickey box
yeah,
that
the
Satan
demon
gave
box.
them and beats her to death with it. Goes, fuck your fucking family.
Yeah,
which
really-
is cool.
Hoisted by her own petard.
Yeah. But then that's when hubby walks in.
Yeah, gets captured.
It is also after he's seen his dead brother,
Yeah.
who he was close with.
Yeah.
That was like the only family member he still had like a connection to.
Right.
And he says like, he's dead. And Grace
He's
is like,
fucking dead.
Yeah.
And yeah, Grace is like, who fucking cares? Let's get out of this house.
And there's a moment where they're kind of looking at each other, and he takes a step toward her, and she takes a step back
Yeah.
because she's been hunted for the evening.
Yeah, and all
She's traumatized.
and he again, I do like this movie as I'm remembering it.
Nick is like smiling.
Yeah,
And
it was a fun
grinning.
experience.
Yeah.
He like takes a step and he's like, "We're not gonna work after this."
Yeah, we're
Like,
not going to be together
Yeah.
after this. You're going to leave me.
And he's so basically now he's given an option of like the morally right thing to do is to continue helping her,
Right. To
or
not let your family kill this woman.
Yeah, but now he doesn't have the
He doesn't
the
get
incentive.
her.
Yeah, the as you said,
He doesn't possess her.
Yeah, and so he's like, well, why would I do that then?
He doesn't say that, but
the
yeah.
thought process is
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
very
yeah.
clear on his face, good acting, and so you can see him being conflicted, and it's not really revealed like what side he kind of lands on, but she's very quickly recaptured and
Yeah.
is brought to the cultist table to
And he is ready to fucking kill her.
yeah.
It's really cool. It's cool. Oh well, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this isn't he doesn't love her because
Yeah.
it's one of those relationships where it's about him having her,
Well, it's also I thought
and the love doesn't transcend like you
thinking
know.
back about it now too, like it's interesting the only way he phrases things to his family and other people, he's like, she makes me feel like I could be a better person. So it's
Yeah.
all self-centered, and I didn't really pick up on that until we've been talking through it, but it's very,
I think it's really smart in that way. Yeah, we get like, because there is an element of like interpersonal and romantic relationships where there's an unhealthy thing, and it's often gendered. It's a
Yeah.
lot of times it's with men, but it can definitely go the other way where the other person becomes this redemptive tool.
yeah, exactly.
It's like the relationship isn't about them. It's about this task you've assigned them and
Yeah.
this value you've given them as something for you.
Yeah.
So it's when he sees Grace, he's looking at himself. He's looking at an idealized self
Yeah.
and wanting that for him, because she's everything his family is not. She's everything he is not. But he's not looking at her as a fully realized human being
Yeah, with as a
that he loves and wants to continue living.
Yeah.
Regardless of his status.
yeah,
toward her.
he can't really add worth to her outside of his own experience with her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Her worth is defined by her value to him.
Yeah. And so then she's able to sort of get away, and the game is only supposed to last until dawn. But she makes
Yeah,
it.
she just in time rolls out from under
Yeah.
them pinning her to the table, about to stab her.
And also another thing that maybe would be interesting to talk about is that during the cultist scene where they're basically drinking blood in Satan robes, and they're like gonna stab her, and they're like, "Hail Satan!" And it's like very campy.
Yeah.
And I think I thought that maybe there was just the movie kind of being silly.
You love
and fun.
you love saying things are campy.
Yeah, I thought it was just like I was like, oh, maybe this is just like the director and like everyone kind of having fun with the concept.
Yeah.
But maybe it's actually to push forward the theme of like, look how ridiculous these people are, in order to keep this like thing that
they're hold.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They're
Like it's kind of like a I get what you mean.
so it's not like the kind of darker part of like, look at what they are willing to do. It's also like, look how
They look
silly they're
stupid.
willing to be.
Yeah.
Like not even silly in a fun way, but silly like in they are
That's
so
sad.
stupid.
Yeah. Look at these little
These
bitches.
fucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she escapes, and they all have this moment. And I actually thought that the movie kind of wasted a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah.
Kind of like an easy out.
Same, Nick.
Yeah, where the nothing happens to the family when dawn comes, and they all have this moment where they're looking at each other.
Yeah.
And I thought was like, this is gonna be a really amazing.
Yeah.
Like now they have to just comprehend
Yeah.
what they have done for generations that they did not have to do for their own self-interest, and like really wrestle with that moral question. But instead, they all just explode like
Into
blood bags.
blood, yeah.
Because Satan actually is real and did make a deal with
Yes.
them.
And we see Satan kind of appear like a ghostly figure and give Grace a little nod, like, you won the game, bitch. And
like,
she's
well done.
She's like, wow.
I mean, honestly, the thing about this is that
even the
after-
kids blow up. The
yeah,
kids
the
blow
kids
up.
blow up, and it's like so ridiculously comical, and like
Yeah.
there's some fun.
They used a T-shirt cannon, a
did
modified T-shirt cannon, which I think is really funny.
It's also fun,
Or like something similar to that kind of device. Yeah.
it's also just funny because like there are like mini vignettes of moments of like how each of them are dealing with the fact that they're about to
Yes.
explode.
Yeah.
Like the dad tries to exert control.
Yeah.
Over
He's like,
Satan.
no.
He's like, you will
I
listen to
played by
me,
the rules.
Satan.
Yeah.
And like none of it matters. They all just explode.
The husband starts trying to bargain with Grace and be like, no, you made me a better person.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hell. I'm fine now. I'm
Yeah.
better. And like not like acknowledging the fact he was just about to sacrifice her at a
Yeah.
fucking table. Yeah.
But it kind of
and she said, don't fucking touch me, which respect.
yeah, respect. But like also I felt like it was too easy of an out for those characters.
Yes.
And so it was
Because their
just, like-
actions are then justified.
Yeah.
In a sense.
In a sense, but also just like, oh yeah, they were the incarnations of evil, and like again, there's not really an arc of like,
Sure. Once you're in league
you are
league
literally
with Satan. There
have
you
a
go.
deal with the
Yeah.
devil. It's like kind of the story ends
Which
there.
is like, the joke is that's rich people. That's every
Yeah.
rich person,
and like yeah,
and
and
this is just that critique made explicit,
yeah. So
That's the bit.
all in all, then the police come as she kind of walks out into the day,
Yeah.
and has kind of a funny one-liner to end the movie with some like raucous, kind of
In-laws.
like punkish rock music.
It's not punkish. It's a cover of good something, a marriage song. We're getting married. That's the song. Nick's face. It went from like, is she actually singing a song to like he froze to like.
I didn't know how to handle it. All my faculties froze up. I was like,
It was
oh,
like
yeah,
you went through fight, flight, freeze. You know the song?
Oh, it's happening again. All right. So at the end of this movie,
It's over.
what do you final thoughts before we move on to the other movie?
So here were my final thoughts. Hey, wait a minute. I feel like I've seen this movie before.
And it
Done
turns out
better.
You have seen it.
Dun dun dun.
Oh fuck! Here it is. The other movie that we
shit.
did. It's
No, I mean
called
I
You're
enjoyed it, but
Next.
it immediately made me want to rewatch this movie.
Yeah.
You're Next,
You're
which
Next
I had
is-
seen a few years prior.
You're Next. Released in 2011, 66
Shouts out.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
66.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. IMDb is a 6.6, and it's like a 71 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Okay.
still like 10 points lower or whatever.
That's.
It's kind of shocking.
I
to
would
me.
I would say this movie. Okay, part of my reason for agreeing to do this episode is because
basically
I want more people to see You're Next. I think it is brilliant. I think it is good. I think it's of this moment. I think it's funny. If you can tolerate your basic slasher horror, please see it before I spoil it all for you.
No, it's really, really good. Like
Thank you. It's definitely darker than Ready or Not.
It's definitely darker, but it still has some funny moments.
I think it's fucking hysterical.
And with the exception of one moment that I thought was completely out of tone with the rest of the movie, it was still a funny moment. But I was just like,
is it the mom? On
We'll talk about it later. But like, man, this movie is like cohesive. It fucking has tempo, and it has a couple of twists that I was like, oh fuck, this is so good.
It's good. And I would, if you, like the basic pitch is like slasher film with some excellent like pitch black comedy, class commentary, and an awesome final girl.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say. Like, go, if that appeals to you at all, watch it before we spoil it.
Yeah, and to like compare and contrast a little bit, like whereas I would say that this is sort of like a straight up thriller kind of horror thing. Ready or Not is much more of like a fun, light-hearted romp.
Light-hearted romp with a deal with the devil and
romp with
children
the devil.
exploding at the end. You know.
So
romp with the devil. I'd like to romp with the devil, if you know what I mean.
Mary Ellen, we're on
sexually
a podcast right now. You can't just keep taking this back to your Elvis wedding.
That was about the devil. It wasn't about I guess Elvis, Devil.
What are you doing right now?
Devil.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Was Elvis the devil?
No,
maybe.
I don't. Well, maybe.
Was he part of the Illuminati? When did the Illuminati start?
Wait, are you talking about?
You know the Illuminati?
Okay, I'm gonna redirect our energies back to this really great movie, You're Next.
Whatever, I'm gonna do an Illuminati podcast with somebody else.
Honestly, I would love to just be a fly on the wall for that podcast recording session.
It's gonna be just me.
Yeah,
and it'd be like today.
But you are talking to someone, and I'm just like, who is she talking to?
I did a Google search about the Illuminati, and I
when
found
you
some
type in
interesting
Illuminati,
things.
you get 3.7 million results on Google.
I
Is
called
that a
Lady
coincidence?
Gaga, and she didn't pick up. What does it mean?
Who's screening my calls? Is it the Illuminati?
Do they not want the truth to get out? Maybe. I drew a triangle. What does that mean?
I have two eyes, but Illuminatis only have one. What does that mean?
What does that mean? What's this on $1 bill? I don't know.
I don't have any money, so I don't know.
Please sell me. You have $1 bill.
So
anyway, it's gonna be great. Check out my new podcast. You're Next.
Your Next starts out with which
classic
like,
slasher intro.
Quick kills.
Yeah.
With this like woman who has some very
people are having
unenjoyable
sex.
The
woman looks very dissatisfied. She's much younger than the man. We don't really know what's going on there.
Is there like are they trying to say something about teacher student?
There's some kind of I think it's the bit is like let's talk about fucked up power dynamics.
Yeah,
like that's the whole film basically.
Is there a two teteacher student relationship in this movie?
One of them being like
the main
our
character,
our protagonist. Yeah. And maybe they're supposed to serve as kind of like a foil in some way, like these two very minor characters who die immediately.
Yeah.
They are axed to death right after their less than sterile lovemaking by a man in a animal costume. I can't remember which
Animal
one.
Mask. Yeah, I think it was
Animal Mask.
I
The
think it was
animal costume would be so cute. Just like hey.
This movie is for furries.
Yeah, it's very sexual.
Yeah, so a man in sort of like a fox or wolf mask comes in and just like pretty brutally with a machete takes them apart. And
our title card is actually like
their blood.
Yeah, written in their blood that says "You're next" when the guy comes out of the shower. It's cool, guys. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good start, and then you basically
cut to
like these
super rich family.
Yeah.
It starts with the mom and the dad driving to their
new house,
vacay home.
It's not even. It's like his project,
his retirement project. He wants to like redo this big old mansion. And
he's a PR person for a fucking military defense contractor or whatever.
Which they make they bring it up and then they like bring it they make note of it. Like it's they want you to be aware of it.
Yeah, and so I mean, not just.
Not.
I'm malfunctioning. So I didn't have any context over. I didn't have any context going into this about who or why the
I
things were happening.
I told you too much by just being like, it's like Ready or Not.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell you more than that.
Yeah, and so I was sort of like, oh, is like there's the possibility that maybe these killers are like coming after this defense contractor and his family because of his like sins or whatever.
Yeah.
And it kind of sets you up to kind of think that because it's like, why are they targeting us?
Right,
And
because we quickly learned that the two who died were the only neighbors
Yes.
of this in the woods
Yeah.
house thing.
And so they, but I'm getting a little too far ahead of us.
Yeah.
She arrives. There's like a scene in the car where they talk about how rich this family is, and he's like, "Oh well, we're just well off."
When you said she arrives, you didn't explain who she is.
The
There's a
main character.
girlfriend and a boyfriend. The boyfriend is the son of the wealthy parents we've seen arrive at the house.
Yes.
And they're chatting about how they're doing a sort of like family reunion weekend for the parents' anniversary, and this is the first time girlfriend is meeting the parents.
Yep.
Kind of a white woman get out.
Exactly. And so they arrive, and there's sort of like
I guess a white woman get out is just get out because the white woman's evil.
yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to erase the crimes of white women. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
truly.
it's like a reverse get out. But no, that's confusing because it's not about race. Don't worry about
You're
it.
just continuing down this
I'm just
path that
digging.
leads absolutely nowhere.
I just want to make sure I wasn't erasing again the many crimes of white women. Okay, we can continue.
Yeah, so they arrive and like the whole family is there, and it's kind of like a weird dynamic between them.
Well, there's a moment where they think somebody's in the house. 'cause
yeah,
they
and the
hear
mom
something.
is like crying.
The
and
mom is kind of like your classic fragile rich wife. Like we get that she's on some kind of medication that they don't refer to. She's all kind of weepy and reactive and like just seems kind of fragile. So she's like they're all very classic like rich family tropes. You
it's
know?
archetype. It's like the kind of bully older son.
Yeah, there's the little princess youngest daughter.
Yeah, and like the kind of disappointing middle child.
Yeah, right. And the dad's very much like a shake your hand and sign some paperwork,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
do the grill sort of thing.
He's a
So
grill
yeah,
guy
so
for sure.
we get like very like they're tropey, but it's in a interesting.
It's in
compelling
like
way.
It's in an
In a
everyman
self-aware.
sort of way. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's this like sketchy younger brother.
Yeah, who invites a equally sketchy
Yeah.
girlfriend.
So there's 4 children total, and they're all there with romantic partners.
Can I admit something?
Yeah.
When the youngest son and his girlfriend came, I was like, oh, she looks rad. She seems like a cool person. This family, she's probably going to be like an ally to the
An
final
ally.
girl.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
She's fucked up. And like, just like completely.
We're in spoiler territory. Did we?
Yeah.
We said, yeah,
Yeah,
we're spoilers.
Yeah. Spoiler. She's fucking crazy.
Anyway, we'll get to that. But so our protagonist is this lovely Australian woman named Erin.
Yeah.
Because I remember 'cause that's my sister's name.
Yeah.
I'm also one of 4 children. This is basically how our family weekends go.
Yeah. And so they sit down at this table and immediately
Wait,
start
Erin,
fighting.
she like when let me set some stuff up.
Okay, I'm
So
sorry.
when Erin and her boyfriend, whose name I don't remember, are in the car driving, she's like, "Wow, your parents are really rich," and he like talks about them working for the defense contractor, and he's like, "Does that? Do you have a problem eating dinner with fascists?" And she's like, no, it's fine." So he's like, he's posed as like the self-aware son,
Yeah.
and like, oh, he's like cool,
Yeah.
like he's aware of like wealth and
Yeah.
stuff. And she's like, she seems to just want to make a good impression. So it's a similar tone
Yeah.
to like the beginning of Ready or Not.
And
They have
So-
their dinner.
yep, and they have before the dinner, I guess the family dynamics sort of come out that like,
Yeah,
the older brother is a bully and just likes to kind of
such
throw
a
his weight.
dick.
And one of the weird scenes that I was talking about was like he sort of comes on to his wife in like a weird kind of assaulty way.
I think he's just supposed to be really piggish, but yeah, like his wife's getting ready and he like just takes off her bra and just starts kind of like pawing at her and stuff, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Not right now," and he like gives her a look like, "Really?" Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like, I guess it's just to establish that these people are not
not
doing
the
well. And
Paragons
he's like,
of virtue.
"Babe, you got Vicodin in your purse?" And she's like, "Yeah, some." So they're just like casually abusing prescriptions.
Yeah, exactly.
Which in Ready or Not, there was a girl who was constantly on pills and coke
Yeah.
and everything. So that's
Yeah.
another trope,
yeah.
and it's real.
It's real, but it's also like going back to how similar these movies are, like basically beat for beat, there are
Oh,
moments
yeah.
of like, wow, this is
Yeah.
the exact same movie.
Right. And You're Next, beat
Yeah.
this one by 8 years. Just saying.
It made for like $90 million less.
No, I was confused. It was only made for, so Your Next was not Your Next was 1 million, and Ready or Not was like 6 million.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was actually cheap.
Yeah.
Your Next was cheap.
Yeah, actually.
Probably if you just shoot at just one house.
I wonder how many of those millions went into that
Adam
devil
Brody?
nod at the
Oh,
end.
that's true. Yeah, they're like, okay, we have to save 5 million for this
we
little
we have to turn
ghost.
them all into blood bags and then have
Yeah.
the devil nod, and that's gonna cost like $2 million.
Right.
Anyway, back to the other movie.
The rest goes to Adam Brody. Everyone else works for free.
It's,
I guess Andy McDowell.
we'll
gets
do it for
money.
exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. So so they establish they're kind of like nobody has a healthy relationship with each
Yeah.
other. The older brother's addicted to the younger brother. The younger brother talks to his dad about not getting a fellowship he'd applied for. He's a professor.
Professor. Yeah.
A literature professor, I guess. And the dad's like, well, do better.
Yeah.
Like he
And
kind
he's-
of like roasts.
He was like, yeah, well, some people who apply get those positions.
Because he's
It's
like, I haven't been published in a while. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, other people who didn't get published probably got it. Like he's
Yeah.
just being a dick.
uh-huh.
So nobody's really nice in this family too.
No.
There's not a lot of warmth.
Yeah.
And Nick even noted at the beginning, like the dialogue even almost feels stilted,
Yeah.
especially between like the mom and the dad.
It kind of is like speak, pause, speak,
Yeah.
pause.
But I like that because it seems like an intentional choice to make it like there's no warmth in this family.
I
There's
guess
no
also-
natural affect. you
Yeah, and
know?
I guess if you actually like look at the color palette of the shots.
Ooh,
in the
Nick's
beginning
going into
too.
color theory.
It's
Ooh,
like a lot of,
tell
like-
us, Nick. Do you know when what's that fucking Shyamalan movie? Do you know the color red is associated with death in The Sixth Sense, and the
You
red
mean
is
in
death,
the Village.
and no, in The Sixth Sense.
Oh, because red's also in the Village.
And maybe he just likes red.
Yeah, I bet. Honestly, when it comes to Shyamalan, it's like, wow, I guess he was really using this to great effect thematically, and he's like, no, he probably just likes the color.
He's just like, this is pretty. Anyway,
But yeah, so like the
Tell
color
us about
palette
color
in the
theory.
beginning, it's like winter time. It's like a lot of blues, and I think that does really, for lack of a better word, cool off the audience
Ooh.
to this family. And so yeah, and then they sit down to have this really nice dinner, and the family starts fighting.
yes.
And basically
Because the older brother starts bullying the youngest sister's
Yeah.
boyfriend, who's a filmmaker.
yeah,
And then he starts bullying Aaron's boyfriend.
yeah. Because Erin and her boyfriend were having like a kind of cute sort of moment where they were talking, and like,
it's so, I love this. It's like they show, so the brother's like harassing the poor filmmaker boyfriend, and then he like casts his eyes around the table and literally just sees his brother and Aaron laughing together, and he's
Yeah.
like, hey, like he like has
Yeah,
to like
he
cut him down.
jump in and just
It's
shut
like
it
very, very overt, just like straight up bullying.
Yeah,
you know?
and so then the filmmaker
It's like what I do to
boyfriend,
Nick when I see him laughing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think something's so funny?
yeah, what the fuck do you think is
Yeah.
funny?
And I just punch him.
Yeah, I'm covered in bruises. Again, there are resources you can use.
No, we're not even gonna. I never have laid a hand on Nick.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably not true. I've probably like been like a light. I do pretend to. Anyway,
I'm just letting you go down this other path that you're taking.
edit all that out. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so they sit down there and
and-
start. Yeah, so Aaron and the brother started dating when she was his TA. His
So
student.
second teacher-student relationship of the
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
And
Audience?
so the brother's like, that's pretty inappropriate.
pretty fucking weird. yeah.
Right. And then
Which,
he's like,
to be
"What'd you
fair,
say?"
You
It
can-
is.
Yeah, not
He's
good.
not wrong, actually.
Yeah.
He's not doing it because
He's
that's his
not
moral
a
stance.
nice person, but
Right.
he's not
being a
wrong.
dick. Yeah. And so they all start fighting, and then the poor filmmaker boyfriend
Goes to like be like, what the fuck am I seeing in this window? Turns out it's a fucking crossbow bolt. Hits him dead in the head.
It's awesome.
And then he's dead on the floor.
The argument continues for a few beats, and then people slowly start realizing he's standing there with an
a
arrow
fucking
through his
crossbow
skull,
bolt in his
and
head.
it is so good. And then they all
Yeah.
start screaming and freaking
They
out.
start, screaming. They're like running around. Other people start getting shot at. The crossbow bolts
Arrows
are going.
keep coming through. The older bully brother gets hit in the shoulder. Like the room's getting hit. Everyone's screaming. Aaron
Mm-hmm.
very quickly snaps into running under the tablecloth, telling people to grab chairs and run and
Yeah.
use them as cover, getting everybody out of the room, kind of coordinating, taking a leadership role.
in kind of a weirdly practiced, and
Yeah.
almost like
Like she
trained
zones in.
way. Yeah,
It's very cool.
Very cool.
And the next, chunk of time entails the wealthy family making very poor decisions while Aaron just tells them to not do the things they're doing.
Consistently, it's just her being like, "Hey, do this instead of that," and they're
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm gonna do this," and then immediately fucking getting killed.
Yeah.
There's a pretty grisly thing where the like youngest daughter is like, "You guys don't ever believe me. I can do it. I can run out to the car and save us. I can do it." And they're all like, "Yeah." And there's a slow-mo shot of her running, just sprinting down, and them opening the door for her. And she runs into piano wire and chops her head off, just slices her neck, and just starts bleeding out
she cuts herself
everywhere.
in the neck and dies very quickly
Yeah.
as her parents scream.
Yeah.
It is pretty gruesome.
It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah. And Aaron is the only one being like, "No, let's all stay inside and lock the door. Don't
Yeah.
do this."
And
but
let's
then
all stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's moments where people are like, "Oh, I gotta go upstairs and check this out," and one of them gets killed, and
And there's still a person in the house that's killed the mom, and then like
mom
yeah.
goes because she's obviously upset because she's watched her daughter die, and
Yeah.
so she goes and she gets killed. So people are getting picked off by these mysterious animal mask wearing people who there's definitely at least one in the house and one outside of the house.
Yes.
It ends up ultimately there are 3 of them.
Yes.
And is the same animal mask guy we saw kill the beautiful couple who were so very happy in the beginning. Aaron starts locking all the windows and doors, grabbing weapons, making a plan of action.
And then she fucking tenderizes one of them.
Not yet.
Oh no, she stabs him.
She stabs one.
Yeah.
One grabs her hair through the window, and she stabs his hand
Yeah.
and pins him to the window.
Yeah.
It's like the edge of the.
badass.
It is cool.
Whereas, Ready or Not, you're sort of like constantly like, "Oh my God, she's in trouble," and basically very quickly in this movie, you're like, "She's okay."
Aaron's capable. Aaron's capable as shit.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend is immediately like, okay, like
What the
weirded
fuck?
out.
Yeah.
And is like, "Why are you acting like this? This is weird. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
In a way that's almost like disgusted.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. And very interesting, and I like it. And I'm trying to think of like the next important plot beat.
Well, I think the next important plot beat is that the dad goes upstairs.
No, you're way skipping.
Is that sway skipping?
Yeah, because at one point the boyfriend is like,
Do they go down in the basement first and then?
No.
No.
At one point, Aaron's boyfriend is like, "Babe, I'm going to go get some help.
Oh yeah,
I'm
and
going to
she
go
runs
because
out.
their
Yep.
cell service is dead because they think somebody's using a blocker."
Well, in fact, the youngest brother is like, "It's
There are
probably
these things.
there are these things. There's a you can get them for like $30 on the internet." And the oldest brother, who's the bully, is like, "That's
You're
fucking
such a fucking creep,
yeah, he's a
man. Why do
fucking
you know
creep."
that shit? It's pretty because
Yeah.
he's just been hit with the arrow, so he's like weeping.
Yeah.
He's like, "What the fuck, man? What kind of lowlifes do you hang out with?"
He also has at this point passed out essentially.
Yeah,
they've
because he
drugged
took a
him
bunch
up.
of Vicodin.
And
yeah.
then she again being very capable. Aaron drags him over and hides him in
behind a curtain.
Yeah, behind the curtains.
Yeah.
So
Her boyfriend says, "Babe, I'm gonna go and keep walking till I get service and try to get us some help."
yeah, so the
And so he
oldest
leaves the
brother's wife has just run out, and he
That's
was like,
another part.
Yeah, no, and then he was like, she made it
Oh
out.
yeah.
I'm gonna go too.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna find service and do it.
Yeah.
But then we see that the
the
wife
wife
has made it to the neighbor's house. And the
Thinks the guy's still alive
because
because
the
they
music's
propped his dead
playing.
body up on the couch.
and then she gets
super murdered.
She gets your
I
nexted.
She gets your next. I almost don't. This murder scene, I'm not actually huge into, and maybe that's why I didn't remember it.
Is it with the golf swing?
Yeah. It almost takes too much pleasure in her suffering, and I don't think she's a bad enough person to justify that, you know?
Well, I
Like,
mean,
I
it's
like
guilt
it-
by association, kind of.
I get it, and she was also a real dick because she was like talking to the guy, her husband, the bully
Yeah.
brother, and being like, "Oh, she looks trashy. She looks
Yeah.
low class. I hate that accent. It's annoying. Like,
Yeah.
she's a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't.
I mean,
she's not nice.
none of them deserve to die.
I would disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about that. but we can continue on.
Yeah.
But basically, this guy
But
takes.
it's a prolonged, like, her crawling away from this guy who's, like, very slowly advancing on her to kill her.
and has like a sledge axe.
Yeah.
And just like basically puts his legs on either side of her head and just knocks her head.
Yeah.
It's like pretty.
That's
gruesome.
one because I like it, you know, that's just like this is like a fun slasher kill, I guess.
It kind of.
Maybe it's the prolonged buildup.
So I actually have a friend who like
Who killed somebody
cannot-
that way?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
No, I have a friend who like cannot do any sort of like torture stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that this is actually
It's
that's why
crossing a
because
little
it
bit.
blends it from this is a classic slasher kill
Yeah.
to like this is kind of this man torturing this woman.
Yeah, I can do. Yeah, and I think that for me is a line I have with scary movies is like I much prefer slashers, and occasionally slashers will do that where it's like a drawn out, like the guy's kind of messing with them and stuff. But in this scenario where she's like weeping on the ground and injured and like crawling away from a guy, that to me is just like I don't like this.
Yeah,
this
it's like,
isn't.
it doesn't bring you pleasure to watch.
No,
Yeah.
no. It turns into kind of like sadistic, you know.
Yeah.
I like fun murder, which sounds insane, but
And
there's
that-
absolutely a tonal difference.
And I mean, like you strive to really only commit fun murders.
when I commit murders in my life,
they're all fun.
yeah, I don't want to draw things out. You know, I
Yeah.
want it to be wham bam.
It's
thank you,
quick.
ma'am.
Everyone enjoys themselves.
Everyone has fun.
And then it's just over.
People get hurt, but not
But not me
me. Yeah.
or you.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Officer. Anyway, so things aren't looking great. She's doing bad, and boyfriend's left. And so now Aaron is in the house with Dada and
The two
youngest son
Yeah.
and his girlfriend with the heavy eyeliner,
Who I thought was gonna be cool.
who we thought was gonna be like all punk cool
She's
chick. She's not. And the oldest brother who is hiding behind a curtain unconscious.
Yes.
And so Aaron is like making traps, home aloneing it.
Yeah.
She's
So
getting
at,
into
at
the
this
vibe.
point, the dad goes upstairs. Then.
At this point, the dad goes
Yeah.
upstairs.
So the dad goes upstairs, and the son goes up with him. Yeah,
The
goes
son
up
goes
with
up,
him.
yeah, to check on the dad.
Yeah, and we know that there's a murderer upstairs. So
Yes.
this is gonna be
Because he's
not
he
good.
murdered the mom and he chased wifey out away. That was when you
Can
screamed.
I also?
Yeah.
That is when I screamed
Yeah.
really loud. Can I also say that this movie moves at a clip? Like, there's pretty much like a death every
It's
10 minutes.
great.
It's just like real. Like,
Yeah, boom, boom.
it keeps
boom.
you like invested
Mhm.
pretty heavily. So the
Yeah.
dad goes upstairs. The youngest son kind of goes upstairs to check on him, and they find out that basically the dad is killed by one of the people.
animals, yeah.
And the animal guy is advancing on the younger son. He's like, "Oh my god, did you really have to do it in front of me?" And you're like, "Oh fucking shit,
Twist.
yeah, he is.
He's
paid
yeah,
them.
he's in league.
And the idea is like him and his girlfriend have hired these 3 people to come and
Mhm.
kill their family so they can get
Get
the
the money.
inheritance.
Yeah.
So again, all about money, capitalism, bad.
Capitalism. Or you've
Karl
heard of
Marx,
it.
capitalism, money,
Classes,
bourgeoisie.
rich. Good job, Nick. You have been my friend for a bit.
Bernie
when I-
Sanders.
Remember when I did the political compass? On
yeah,
the,
I
that
still
was
remember.
fun.
I actually have referenced that several times since.
Good, because
Yeah.
I was trying to explain it, and it doesn't matter. I was trying why
You should make
Democrats were-
make another one. We can post it.
great.
Great.
Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so now we're like, oh no, Erin's in the house with people who are working with the murderers. She doesn't know,
Yeah.
but we're also like, well, she's kind of a fucking badass. So
Yeah,
maybe she'll be okay.
And she is like walking around. She's not making traps at this point, right?
she
She's
is.
just-
She's doing the little nails
the
in
nail-
the wood.
And so then it's revealed that this is happening, and then the woman is like, so like, how do you know all this stuff?
Yeah.
And it turns out she's a survivalist.
She was raised in a survivalist compound by her father in the
Yeah.
Australian outback. And she says a thing where she's like, he thought the world was going to run out of resources and we'd
Yeah.
all be fighting for them. And
Exactly.
it's kind of like,
well,
interesting.
guess what? He fucking was right.
right.
In this
Maybe have made some points.
in this very specific context, he called it absolutely. Dad has raised her essentially to be a fucking awesome survivalist person.
Well, it's not framed as like, this was super good for like my childhood development. and
she's
she
not
also
happy about it.
Right. She's like, he found a bunch of other guys who had these same ideas.
Yeah.
And they made this place.
And she was like, I haven't even told the boyfriends. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't told anybody. I don't want
Right.
to scare him off.
And she eventually, as a teenager, left to go live with her mom in the United States.
Mhm.
But this clearly, she's like, I learned a lot of things.
Yep.
So we're like, oh, because she's saying all these things like, no, we can't go in the basement. Or
Yeah,
else they can just put
pour
gas down there
gasoline down the stairs and light it up, and
yeah.
people are like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and she's like, we have to do this. Make sure,
Mhm.
like, she just zones in like somebody who's trained
Yeah.
for responding to intruders.
And then this like psycho girlfriend person like,
Almost tries to kill
yeah,
her.
almost tries to kill her, and then she's like, "Oh, are you having trouble making these traps?" And she's like, "No, I'm fine."
It's like raises a board with nails and is about to smash her.
But she's fucking later. It pays off so good. These traps, every single thing that she does, in like a really satisfying way. It's like she's just successful over and over
Right,
again.
because she's smart and she can improvise. And
Yeah.
she is.
And like,
Yeah.
not to say that she's like a super person. Like she pays prices for like
Oh,
coming
yeah.
into contact.
She
with
gets
these people.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's just like so satisfying watching her like hard work pay off.
Yeah, you're like, yes, because she does really smart. Like, for example, with the nails through the board trap,
Mhm.
she does. She puts one really far in front of the window, like visible from the outside. And so, at one point, one of the animal mask guys sees it, kind of laughs to himself, and steps closer,
And
where
she's
she's
put
put
another
another
one.
board that
Fucking
goes
read
through
it
this
like a
fucking-
book.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, so at this point she's like walking around, and she actually does come into a confrontation with one of the animal mask guys.
Yeah.
And she is like hiding in like behind the basement door, and then the
No,
fucking
you're
older
skipping.
brother wakes.
You're skipping.
Am I skipping?
She kills a guy
Oh,
first.
fucking does.
It is it is so cool. So there's like he just shocks her. He comes
Yeah.
through I think a window, and it's like a real surprise, and she's on her back, and it plays out in slow motion. We're like, no.
Yeah.
She has a meat tenderizer, right? That's the little like hammer thingy.
And she kicks him in the nuts.
She kicks him in the nuts, gets his knee out with a
Yeah.
tenderizer. Then he falls to the ground, and she
just fucking
just
goes
to
town.
town on his
Yeah.
skull repeatedly, and once he's down, continues. It's like
Yeah,
that.
and-
It's
and-
like a refutation of that classic like double shot.
Yeah, it's
thing,
like
yeah.
at no point in this movie was I like, oh my
Oh,
god,
he'll
just
get up.
finish him.
Right.
And she fucking does not stop till she sees the floorboards underneath this guy's head, and like the other characters are just watching
So
her.
in the meantime, the son and the daughter, who I believe at this point we now know have hired
Yeah.
these guys, look like disgusted and weirded out and
Yeah.
kind of horrified at
Yeah.
her killing this guy who was trying to kill her.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that later. I just want to like make note of that. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like they like draw back and are like, ugh, you
Yeah.
know. So she fully just like owns a guy.
Yeah.
Just gets that guy.
And then like the power goes out or something. Do they go in the
Somebody
basement?
shuts out the power.
Yeah.
So she goes down to reset it in the basement. Yeah, I can't. The series of events
Gets a little murky, but
Yeah.
like no, actually. So first, like, and I think that the guy with the like the bolt in his back has woken up at this point and is like,
Yes.
and like didn't try to help her when she was gonna.
Well, he wakes up at a crucial point where she's about to have so other things happen, but one of the animal masks comes in and discovers that somebody has
Yeah.
died,
Yeah.
and it turns out like one of the other animals has died, and it turns out it was his brother.
And this is another great thing I want to put a pin in is that he
Mhm.
has like such an emotional reaction of
Yeah.
like he's like crying and sobbing and he's like
turns the whole dining table over in a rage.
Yeah. And is also like doesn't care about what's happening at that point or
Isn't trying to be quiet.
isn't trying to be quiet. And he also
Mhm.
is just like really tenderly like making sure his brother is dead. Because
Like,
you find
touching
out,
his face.
yeah, you find out that it's his brother.
Yeah.
And it's just like really sad. It's like a real moment of like feeling the cost of what's happening. And all of the family who have seen many people die at this point have not had any reaction that even like kind of approaches
Well,
it.
I would say the mom and the dad's response to the daughter.
Yeah. But but they were kind of like in shock. It read more as like a
Well, she was
fearful,
saying like
"Oh
my
God."
baby, and
Yeah,
stuff.
I guess that's true. But like,
Yeah. I don't
most-
think rich people are incapable of human affection.
but I guess
Are they?
prove me wrong. Yeah, no, I just feel as though like it was a moment where I felt the most connection, like
Interesting.
for
Yeah.
that guy in that emotional moment.
Yeah, it felt like really raw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And at that point, I was also kind of like, man, I hope that these guys, these
I hope he's
animal
okay.
mask guys, survive and fucking they all
Oh,
kill the family.
interesting.
Like I thought there was gonna be a turn. And I was
Oh, like they'll reach class consciousness.
Yeah, that they're like gonna come together.
And a line. Well, it's really interesting. We get a line a little bit later.
And this is where I was like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, where he's like, the guy says, "That's my fucking brother," right
Yeah, and
there,
he, like, is
to
pinned-
the young son who
Had
hired
paid
him.
them, yeah, and he's like pinned him up against the wall,
Yeah.
and choking him
And
out.
he's like, "Tell me why I shouldn't kill you."
yeah,
But the young son is like, oh shit, I knew you guys served together, but I didn't know your brothers. So we learned these people are former military.
yeah.
Which explains some
Again,
things.
but it's also class stuff is like the
Oh, it is class
vast
stuff, absolutely.
majority of our military.
I want to put a pin in that too.
Yeah,
Like, maybe it's interesting that very wealthy people would take on working class military people to do their violence for them.
yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Interesting
So-
and not planned at all.
So while he's discovering the body and making a lot of noise, Aaron was coming up from the basement
Yes.
where she turned the power back on and starts getting things out of a toolbox just in case. And the guy hears her,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a tense moment where there's buildup, and they look at each other through the keyhole, which is very good.
It's very scary.
Yeah, Nick was crying. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But then the guy, the older brother, the bully, kind of wakes
Wakes
up and
up.
distracts him for
By
like,
accident.
Yeah, by accident.
stumbling out of the dining room. Yeah.
in sort of like a stupid way, and then she is able to come out and
Get a screwdriver in the guy's back.
yeah, before he runs away.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
real
it's
quick
like a
before-
2v1.
Before we leave it completely behind, when
Yeah.
he's like choking out the younger brother.
Yeah.
In the way where I was like, oh, my dream of class consciousness ending kind of died when he was like, I didn't know you guys served together. Listen, you can have his cut. Like,
Yeah,
you
you can have
be
his
paid
share, too.
$600,000. You know what? I'll just add another $100,000 in it. If you don't do it, it'll all be for nothing. It'll be a waste. And then because of the money that is being offered, he kind of relents and goes back into the service.
And
of
he's like,
this.
you better fucking get this money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, fuck.
Aw, beans.
Anyway, so yeah,
People are motivated by need for resources.
so yeah, so the guy gets screwdrivered. He runs out into the wilderness.
He's like, I'm not going to win this 2v1 fight
Yeah, and then
with fucking Aaron.
they all kind of come together and
No, they
and
don't.
because they go back
Because
down to the
Aaron
basement to get the tools.
lies to. So at one point, they throw the wife's body through a window when the
Yes.
guy attacks Aaron.
Yeah.
And Aaron fucks him up.
Mhm.
But Aaron lies to the brother basically to protect him
Yeah.
and to keep him calm, and says like, "Oh, your wife, she hasn't come back yet. She
And
just
then-
ran out."
Yeah, and then he finds out.
The younger brother.
yeah,
tells
shows him to fuck him up.
Yeah.
So then they
They go to the basement to
split
get-
the party. Yeah.
They go into the basement to get the boys. They all kind of go into the basement briefly.
To get the
Weapons, because she's like, "Oh, I saw a bunch of stuff down there. Let's grab some stuff real quick so they don't pour gas
Yeah.
down and light it." And so she and the sketchy girlfriend go,
Yeah.
and the two brothers go to another section of the basement, and they are talking to each other, and the younger brother puts gloves on,
Yeah.
which shit's about to go down,
Uh-huh.
and is talking to his brother, tells him his wife died, which
Mhm.
basically like puts the older brother into shock, and then he starts stabbing him to death.
But with multiple things, like he doesn't take it back out. He just
No,
keeps putting
keeps-
more things into him,
And panicking
Yeah,
as he starts doing it.
and the brother is just like,
Yeah, and
and
he's
then-
like, "Why would you fucking die already, man? This is hard enough on me as it is."
yeah, and it's centering the self.
Hysterical.
So good.
Hysterical. And then finally the brother dies because he has like 18 fucking
Yeah.
sharp implements in him. There's also, I don't know where the scene falls, but the scene you felt was,
Really out of place.
yeah,
I was thinking about
you
that
could talk
too.
about it.
Is basically the younger son who has planned all this, and his girlfriend are in the bed with the dead mother, having just like killed the
The
father.
boy's sitting on the edge of the bed.
Yeah,
His
and
dead mother is
in
lying in the bed.
Yeah, and she just sort of like pushes him down, starts taking her top off, and he's like, "What is happening right now?" And she's like, "Let's just fuck really quick." And he's
Yeah.
like, "I don't think."
She's like, "Fuck me next to your
Dead
Mom.
mother, yeah, and then he's like, "Absolutely not," and she's like,
You never want to do anything interesting."
and then he has a great line, I think, which is like, I think that is a completely unfair criticism because of the situation that they're in, and it's a very funny moment, but also feels
It is
super out of
weird.
place.
It is. I mean, it is taking things. It's like very black
Yeah.
comedy, you
Yeah.
know. It is. I mean, it's just meant to give a character of this woman. It's just like she's just deranged.
Yeah,
she's kind of she's like the equivalent of the Adam Brody wife, you know,
Yes.
just like, and has the same hairstyle weirdly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, she comes from some background where she's become vicious.
Yeah.
And is like all for like,
But she's also
getting
like
off on
enjoying
this.
it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
And so
it's a little far. I think it's kind of funny. It's a, like, I get if people are like, no, like this is too much.
I forget, how does it happen that she realizes what they've done?
Aaron?
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Aaron at some point goes upstairs, discovers the dad is dead.
Mm-hmm.
One of the animal guys is there with
She
his
jumps
machete.
out the window.
She sees him, immediately jumps out the window because that's her best exit strategy. Lands and gets a giant glass shard in her leg that she has to run into the woods and pull out on her own.
Then tourniquet. She's again a badass.
She's tough.
Yeah.
Great first aid strategies. Another animal, I'm just calling them animals. Well, another animal's in the woods with his little crossbow.
Yeah.
She flees, gets back in the house. She does like a little. It shows she kind of tricks them by they all kind of run in after her, and then she like. That's after.
After.
So basically, at one point, she's hiding in the main dining room
And
between a window and the curtain.
Yes.
And then
the younger brother's like, this is not what I'm fucking paying you for.
Yeah,
This is
I
not
just
how
had to
it's supposed
kill
go."
my own brother on my own because you guys can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
And we see Aaron hearing this,
And
learning this
realizing it.
information.
And so then, like, shortly after that, basically,
Her phone makes a sound.
Yeah.
Because she sent a text to 911 because she's like, sometimes if you send a text to them, it'll process as a phone call if you have just like one bar of service, basically. Smart.
Yeah. Again, very smart.
But it made a sound as she
And then,
sent out.
so they're all chasing her, and she.
But it's great. So the animal's like, I'll take care of it. And he walks out, puts his mask back down, walks over, and she gets ready behind the curtain and just fucking punches him right in the throat.
Yeah.
As soon as he parts away, poof, and he falls over.
Yeah,
so
great.
good.
And then she like runs,
Limps out of there.
Yeah, and then
Poor
they all
thing.
like follow her, but she is all, like doubled
She turns
back, and got back into the house
climbs
through a
back in the
broken
window. Awesome.
And then the fox guy or the mask guy is like,
Mhm.
I'll go out looking to kill her, and then he's like, give me your crossbow.
The son, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, there's a moment of like true hatred between them, which is great.
Between the military guy and the son.
And
Where
he's
he's
like,
like, do you even know how to use this fucking thing?
He's like, I point and shoot. Is that enough? It's
Yeah.
very funny.
There was a moment where I was like, is he going to kill the son? Like, he
Yeah.
looks at him like, fuck you,
Yeah,
you know?
it's just pure rage. Very delicious. Anyway, so
Nick loves rage. So he goes back in the house, and there's another great kill scene where how does the middle one die?
he steps on the board.
He steps on board. No, that's not how he died.
Well, but it like stumbles, and then she like doesn't she hit him with something?
That was the first guy. Stepped on the board.
Was
and-
it through the mask hole? The
Oh
eye hole?
yeah. The guy like finds her after she doubles back, and she I think gets him.
She like stabs him with one of her like it's like pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It's like it's like one of those metal files or something.
Yeah.
Like, through the eye. And
Yeah.
like into him. And
She really gets him.
Yeah.
The final guy, she sets up this whole trap
Yeah.
by the front door for an axe to come swinging down and chop him in the head.
Yeah, if anyone comes through the front door.
Yeah, and it's really cute because she sets this whole thing up, is waiting and ready, and then she sees one of them coming through the window, and she's like, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
And so she runs down to the basement, and immediately improvises a plan. We see her with a little flash
so the light
camera.
they kill the lights.
Yeah,
it's dark.
She uses a brick to hit all the light bulbs out. Totally pitch black. Sets a camera up so it's constantly taking pictures
and the
flashing.
flash is like making it so that he can't see very well.
So he's
or
blinded every
his
couple
eyes can't
seconds.
adjust. And she just like comes and just brains
Gets
him
a
with the
log.
brick.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
We were chanting log,
yeah,
log.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, if you want
And
a
it's
variety of kill
and the
weapons,
scene is
oof.
shot so cool because we just see flashes of the action.
And there's a point where you're seeing the pictures that it's taking as like he
It's
gets
pretty
closer
cool.
and closer to the camera.
Yeah, it's cool.
So now at this point, all of the killers are
The
dead.
animals are dead.
Yeah, and now it's just the two upstairs and
Those creepy kids.
Yeah, and they like
They're not
basically
kids.
corner her. She's pretty like it's bad for her.
It's 2v1.
And
Yeah.
then she grabs a blender, sticks it in one of the guys' heads, and turns it on, and just blends his
and
head.
holds it down to his
Yeah.
skull. It's so
Oh, Jesus.
gnarly.
And then the crazy girlfriend is like trying to
goes to
attack her,
kill
and
her, yeah.
basically she just like stabs.
She
her to
stabs her
death.
right in the head.
Yeah, stabs her. And then
collapses exhausted.
Yeah, and she's like,
They're all
"Ugh."
sitting there. And
there's
then
a moment of quiet.
we had seen
and-
earlier the son had turned off the cell blocker.
Yeah.
And so there's a moment, and then suddenly his phone starts ringing in his
Mhm.
pants. And we're like, huh. And so Aaron
And-
picks up the wait for it. Nick's getting all excited. Aaron picks up the phone, holds it up to her ear, and hears her boyfriend
And
say, Is it over?
done? Yeah. Fuck that guy. Makes you hate him immediately.
He thinks his brother's being quiet because he's pissed. He's like, dude, I know.
I know
I'm
I
sorry.
ran away to let
I
you
just
deal with
couldn't.
it.
I just couldn't be there to see it all. You know, I'm a
Yeah.
pacifist.
Yeah.
Amazing, so
Yeah.
good. He's like, God, I couldn't take it, and I knew like you'd be fine. Blah blah. Is it done? Can I come back in?
And then he comes
He's like,
in
fuck it,
and
I'll just come
sees-
inside.
and sees Aaron with the phone, and she drops it or like turns it off,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh.
and looks at her hand, and she's got a knife in hand.
Yeah, and then there's like this great sequence of him just trying to talk
Well,
her.
trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Yeah,
Because once he left, he saw her kind of getting into, but the fact that she like, so he's like, where's my brother, by the way? And she's like, I killed him with a blender.
really great line. But I thought that this was so good because it's basically the thesis of the film. Of him being like, like you don't have to work at a bar anymore.
Well,
We'll
so
split
his
the-"
defense of his action, she's like, why would you kill him? You just left me here to die. And he's
Yeah.
like, no. You
You
were
were
a
supposed to be
huge
the
part of the
witness,
plan.
yeah.
You were supposed to be an innocent witness.
Mhm.
Besides, we needed somebody besides his creepy girlfriend
Yeah.
who was like a reliable witness to say we were just attacked by a bunch of random crazy people, and to say that
And he blames her because he's like, we didn't expect you to be so good at killing people.
Yeah, and he's like, which is weird, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, tries to, shame her for, being...
to
basically-
survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for having, survival skills. And
and he's like,
he's slowly walking towards her as he tries
and he's
to
saying,
persuade
like,
her.
Hey, babe, now we won't be poor anymore, and maybe that'll lead to a ring, an engagement,
We
and
could go on vacation.
well,
We'd be
like,
halfway to Paris by now.
if
yeah.
you just hadn't fucking done this, and and we can still have it. The inheritance is coming through if you just tell them.
And look, on the bright side, it's all ours now. Everyone's
Yeah,
dead.
yeah, and then he gets close, and she's just sort of starts leaning into him a little bit, and he's like, babe, and then she just stabs him in the fucking neck, and it's so good. He's like, why? She's like, fuck you.
No, he says why, and she's like, why the fuck not?
Yeah, and then she's fucking shot by a police officer.
Well, she stabs him once, stabs him again, and
Yeah.
the second time she stabs him, a cop is looking through the window and shoots her in the shoulder,
Yeah,
thinking she's the
the killer.
killer.
And in a way, she is.
In a way, we all are.
But then,
So he phones
Yeah.
back to the station. He's like, "Quick, send
medic.
full response team medic." Blah blah. Oh my god! And he's all shook up and stuff. And then he starts advancing to the front door. She wakes
and
up.
she's like, no.
Is crawling. He's like, "No, don't!" And he opens the door.
Gets
The
an
axe
in the
swings
face.
down, and there's
Hard
a
cut
blood
to
splatter.
some fucking rad music.
And it's "You're Next." That's the movie.
Yeah. Oh, fucking good.
What do you think?
So I think that when it comes to
Let's hear your thoughts.
class commentary and stuff, I think they're both saying the same message, but I think that it is done. I think it's more interesting in Your Next because it shows the cannibalism of the rich as well. It's not this united front, which I get.
Yes.
It's just how much it corrupts you, and it's
Yeah.
self-interest, and it's because that's the mindset you have to amass that much resources
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of natural for this to happen in this setting.
Yeah.
And so it's really fucking interesting, and it's good. I think that there's some of the commentary that is sort of tacked on in a way that's not super well done, I guess. The fact that she's a survivalist and just knows how to kill everyone, because the message of hey, the poor that have caught on to this and have actually prepared
Forming
themselves.
compounds.
Yeah, have prepared themselves, are actually well off in these ways to protect themselves from the rich with all the resources who have basically, like you said, weaponized the poor against the other poor. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's interesting, but it's also very convenient. I mean, it didn't
Sure.
make me like the movie any less, but I was it's really fucking convenient that she was a fucking apocalyptic survivalist person.
Yeah. I think what makes that feel a little random is there isn't a planting of that information
A little
prior to the
earlier.
reveal.
Yeah.
You know, if there was some kind of hinting of it, I think we as an audience would have an easier time with being like, that's random. Okay.
I think
I mean,
there's
at least
like
she has
one
an
moment.
accent.
I think there's like one moment where she, like someone says something and she's like, actually, you shouldn't do that because of.
Oh,
like,
it's so he's like complaining about his parents, and she's like, some people would do anything to have parents like yours.
yeah,
And implying that the way she was
It's
raised
not
was not
great.
ideal.
yeah.
So I think there is an attempt at planting, but I feel like
It's just not enough. That's
yeah, I feel like there's a way to make it feel a little less like okay. But I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you.
But overall, this movie fucking slaps. It's amazing.
It does slap. It really slaps. I think what I like. Here's why I felt like I really wanted to go back to your next, and why I'm not here saying Ready or Not I think is bad. I think it's attempting something different tonally.
Mhm.
The problem for me is it's not vicious enough.
Yeah, it's like it's because it's trying to be fun,
Yes.
and like even the time that's making fun of the rich people, like when one of the cousins or whatever is in the bathroom trying to learn how to use his crossbow, and
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a funny sort of thing, but it's
kind
sort
of endearing.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
endearing in a way.
You
whereas,
don't hate them that
yeah,
much.
whereas in your next every single moment you're like,
they're like
"Fuck
these people.
you."
Yeah.
And so it makes it more gratifying,
Right,
too.
which obviously is like, they're broadly drawn caricatures.
Yeah.
But that's the genre too.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
you're like die,
Yeah,
Um,
I think it does have some moments of like complexity. Like for
Sure.
me, when one of the soldiers is like sad about his brother who is killed
Yeah.
in this thing, like that, it adds complexity of like, who am I rooting for here? And
Yeah.
like, if only these people weren't on the bad side. It sounds like they're more human than the people that.
Right.
Like-
they're operating in a wartime
Yeah,
context,
yeah.
where they're able to make those separations about who is a target and who is not,
Exactly, yeah.
and they still have positive feelings toward
Yeah, and
each other.
they show more humanity than most of the other
in some
people.
ways, yeah. For me, what I also really like the gendered part of this.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I have a lot of feelings about women and violence and anger in movies. And I think lately I'm seeing a lot of movies. I'm going to call out one that made me particularly mad, Promising Young Woman, where violence, like, ooh, women being bad. Ooh,
Yeah.
is she going to hurt somebody?
Look
is
at them like subvert the
yeah, it's touted as like are we gonna go there? No, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
Like that was the entire marketing project of Promising Young Woman. Is like, oh, is she gonna do something about all these predators? It's like,
Yeah.
no, and it's like, fuck you, like
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. And it's such an interesting social thing where we understand women are targeted and subject to gendered violence, but women being violent to protect themselves and as a form of survival is seen as like, oh, ooh, icky,
Yeah. And like also like unrealistic, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Which I understand.
but this movie, I think, like kind of swipes that aside, because there's never a moment where she just like goes toe to toe.
Right.
with one
It's
of
not
these
like
fuckers. You know, like,
her advantage oftentimes is
It's
just
just she's
being mentally
smarter.
prepared,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's a thing. I mean, because the final girl trope, it was a trope, in some ways it's not the most I realistically done.
Mhm.
It's like some of these girls get very lucky. Some of them become just like fucking like badass to the point of like superhero.
And also a thing that this movie takes away from the final girl trope is that
Yeah.
usually there's like a moral purity of
Right.
the final girl, and this like she has no qualms about
About-
doing what she has
yeah.
to do.
And
There's
the-
no like moral thing. She's like in a relationship with her teacher. Like there's some weird stuff.
Yeah,
there
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
Like, she's not.
She's having sex.
Yeah, she's not a perfect person
Right.
or whatever, or by like Puritan standards,
Yeah.
and she's
or by
still-
traditional slasher standards.
yeah, and she still is the person who gets through it because she is just
she is trained and smart and adapts. Yeah, and is because she's willing to do violence.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very interesting to me. In Ready or Not, the only time she actually kills somebody is when it's her or them.
It's almost like the writer was like, here, now you have permission
Yeah.
to do it, because she literally has hands around her throat.
Right.
And it's
She does
violence
get
against
vicious.
another woman too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does get vicious where she does beat her
Yeah.
head multiple times. But immediately after, there's the confrontation with her and the husband, and it's like,
Yeah.
you've been bad.
You've been
You killed my
naughty,
mom.
Naughty,
Right.
naughty.
This I really like. I also fucking love the it's so rich to have a family of people who've made their wealth from violence.
Yes. Oh, I didn't
Killing
even think
people.
about that. That's fucking great.
Mhm. Who look at somebody utilizing violence to survive
Yeah.
and showing disgust and
Yeah.
saying that's inappropriate, that's gauche,
Yeah.
I hate this makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and one of their lines too is like I was just in the marketing department, which
Yeah.
is also like making violence
Oh, yeah.
acceptable to society or whatever.
and
right?
and I think there's so much potential for horror
yes.
in the way we and you know, especially people of wealth, but I mean in the way a lot of us all benefit from violence at a remove.
Yeah.
You know, because of the violence inherent in all our systems.
Which is also, I guess, I mean, you can read into it a little bit, like these
Me read into a movie?
like
Tell me more.
poor men who were in the
soldiers,
military
yeah.
who are doing anything for resources. They're faceless automatons that are used by the
They're
rich.
the animals.
Yeah, they literally
Animal Farm. George Orwell.
to making horses into glue. Horses are us. We have to rise up.
Horse there is. Sorry to bother you. Horse people. Army Hammer. Why is he eating people? I can keep going. Fuck Army Hammer.
Yeah, so I think honestly, just the way, I mean, it should be pretty obvious. I think that we liked Your Next better. Not to say that Ready or Not's a bad movie. I liked it too. I think that they do very different things where Your Next makes you kind of think and also gives you like a real sense of like,
It
I don't
goes
know.
in.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a you feel it in your gut sort of thing.
Catharsis, would you say?
Maybe not.
It gives
yeah, I
me a little
guess.
bit of catharsis. I'm like, I am Aaron with
Yeah,
an axe.
I could be.
I could do this. I would be dead so
I
quickly.
know.
I'd be
I
like,
mean, I
what's
would be
happening?
dead.
Arrow through the head.
Yeah.
You and I would be dead.
I mean, I'm putting
Let's
it in
never
the
go to
memory
dinner with rich people. you and I would be like the filmmaker guy who are just like,
Yeah.
what's that?
What's
Poof.
out there? I mean, he's the only real victim in this.
Oh
movie.
yeah, oh absolutely. I mean, Aaron's also a victim, but
That's
yeah, but no, I
But
felt
she
bad for
survived,
him.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So I really I like that there's a gendered thing. I like that there's a class thing. I'm really fascinated by the topic of violence and what we consider violence.
yeah.
That
I mean, like you're the one who sort of says this all the time, so I'm sorry for stealing this.
yeah,
but
go for it.
like the Marvel movies is just packaging violence as like military propaganda.
Yes. Yeah, and it's fascinating that we have like a slate of PG-13 movies where tons of people are killed,
Which are just
but
widely
are just bloodless.
which are bloodless, but like
And
widely
cartoony.
culture are like these are the movies for
Go see
everyone
this
from
with your
kids
babies,
to-
yeah.
yeah.
It is, and like, yeah, it's you know, what we normalize in media, what we normalize in the way we make an income and make profit.
Yeah.
So that whole juxtaposition I think is so juicy and good, and to have like what you have on your top layers, like a very solid, well-paced, fun,
Yeah.
like bloody slasher film, and then you got this meat underneath. It's like, this is actually really fascinating. There's so many layers of like gender analysis here and class analysis, and this really like what's going on with this relationship and these power
Yeah.
dynamics and like exploitation.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing is that like
There's so much meat, and I like that.
Ready or Not, you sort of like you get it.
You
and
get what's
it's-
on the tin.
and it's there.
Yeah.
But Your Next is like as far down as you want to go.
Yeah.
You can go.
You can engage with
'Cause
it as just like a
You-
slasher.
yeah, you can engage with it with like every 10 minutes I'm gonna see a pretty like interesting
gnarly
crazy
dude.
kill. Yeah.
Bite it, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to go all the way down, you can think about it the way
Mary Ellen does.
and I have been talking
No,
about
just
it.
me. No,
Yeah,
I'm just
just
You can also think about things like Nick does.
yeah, which is
Screaming sometimes.
yeah, just you really gotta not do that.
But
so
yeah, and and also another point I want to make is in Your Next, the rich people don't have to kill anybody.
Yeah,
they don't have to do
is-
anything.
it
They're
is-
just doing it to acquire more wealth.
Yeah,
The rich people in Ready or Not it's them or her.
yeah, and
It is a battle for survival. Like, they didn't have to make a deal with Satan in the first place, but that wasn't their choice.
Well, this is the thing is that like,
And that's why. Can I say a thing really
Yeah.
quick before I get? Can you remember what you're gonna say? So that's why I almost wish in Ready or Not that there was like one of them who didn't like. I almost wish there was like a little bit where there was like they're like, oh yeah, cousin George never shows up to these things, and then there's like they show at the end and cousin George finds out that they all died and is like, huh, and then he's fine,
Yeah.
because he opted out,
Yeah.
and he's like he like makes pottery somewhere.
Yeah, because
that I would be into.
Yeah, but I guess the thing that Ready or Not is implying though is that you are guilt by association, that you are not, even if you did say like, I'm not going to engage with the family anymore, I'm just going to go live in Western Massachusetts and throw pottery or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you are still benefiting from the violence and the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I guess that's what they're saying.
But I mean, politically, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to need some people to kind of betray the bourgeoisie.
You're right. We have to accept the class
Right.
strangers going the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I was going to say was that in Ready or Not, they're trying to, like you said, sort of acquire more wealth, whereas in Your Next, it is a group of people who have fallen out of the wealthy class but still identify as that class, trying to regain their status through violence.
Yeah.
Which I think was also kind of like an interesting.
Yeah, like
yeah.
a generational battle.
Yeah. It's also,
that's interesting.
like I said, it's like the kind of self-cannibalistic thing of it.
And I like the vicious kind of intra violence too,
Which
'cause
is-
that rings true to me.
But I mean, like, I think that, like, if there's a moment in this movie that kind of encapsulates it's all when he's stabbing his brother over and over again. He's just like, "Why are you? It's so hard for me to do this."
right.
It's just like so good, and just like that moment encapsulates like the mentality and the moment. It's great.
It's great.
Go watch these movies. I think if you have to pick one, my vote is Your Next.
Yeah, obviously me too. 'Cause
It's on Amazon Prime for free.
Which is ironic.
Which is owned by the biggest fucking.
You could also, I've heard, just get it through free sources in other ways. Find somebody to teach you how. Theoretically. Not that I would ever do. I've heard of friends who've done that.
Yeah, I mean, like hypothetically,
That's fine too.
Hypothetically, though, if you were to hypothetically do this, then just make sure that you turn seating off so that you're the person who pays for, or like his name is on the internet account, doesn't get random cease and desist letters from
They
different.
send those to everybody. Whatever. Did I tell you about the time my parents got some from HBO when I was like 17?
No.
About somebody torrenting in the house. I won't say who. And they acted as though the cops were like at our door. They're like, Marilyn, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? It was really funny.
Anyway, here time for the shameless promotional part. We have a Gmail if you want to see us.
We have a Gmail.
Yeah, if you want. We also
got
have a Twitter.
approved.
Yeah, if you want to like throw your suggestion into the box of
Throw
what
it in there.
if we want to like review or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck we're doing here.
What
send
are
it
we
to
doing?
us at movievsmoviepodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at movievmoviepod.
I feel like these are things you
Just
literally
look, I
run
mean,
the
just
Twitter
type in
account.
movie versus movie into Twitter. You'll find us. We have a really great drawn logo, same as the one you probably
Movie
see now.
v Movie Pod.
Yes, great. And then we also have an Instagram and Facebook if that's your jam. I don't know why
Don't
it
go
would
on
be.
Facebook.
Yeah, don't ever do that. And please like and subscribe to the podcast.
Please.
Oh, if you do nothing else, please do that.
Oh no, it's
Oh,
our
no.
voices that we talk
No,
in sometimes.
We're very bad boys.
We're bad bored.
Bad board. That's just an inside joke that nobody's gonna get, but whatever. So if you wanna, I don't know, guys, just listen.
I hope we had a good time.
Yeah, I hope you guys did. This
And
is a longer one, so like enjoy.
I hope your next soars to the top of the charts.
based on this
Yes.
podcast recommendation.
Yeah.
And like have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Also, like, fuck colonizers.
Yeah,
like
fuck
us.
colonizers, but I hope
Like us.
people at the very least have a day off of work, and if not, maybe I
God's
I
sake.
hope you get, a time and a half, pocket all that cash you can.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish you got more than a half.
I know, for real.
People who work on holidays should get like to slap a customer in the face.
I'm gonna one up you there.
Yeah.
I think that no matter if it's a holiday or not, you should
You'd be
pay
able
the
to slap
time
a
at a time
customer
and
in
a
the
half, and
face.
if people annoy you, just slap them right across the face.
Perfect.
And with that, thank you so much for listening to Movie versus Movie.
We love you.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Is that our song?